My name is Daniel Hayes. I'm 47 years old and have been a financial advisor in Raleigh for the last 23 years. I built a solid practice from scratch, helping families prepare for their futures. I never imagined I'd have to prepare for the collapse of my own. Everything shifted the day my wife, Megan, stood in the kitchen holding a coffee mug and, without even looking at me, casually said, "Logan's coming to the graduation with us." She said it like she was telling me what's for dinner. Calm, detached, almost routine. "Logan," I repeated, already feeling a twist in my chest. "Your personal trainer." She nodded slightly and added, "He's become a good friend to our family." That last phrase, "our family," didn't sit right. I had been watching things change for months, sensing a current building beneath the surface of our marriage. Megan had started working out 5 days a week instead of her usual 3. New designer clothes began showing up in the closet items I didn't recognize, tags I knew weren't from any store she'd normally shop at. She started disappearing for hours on weekends, saying she was running errands, though those errands used to take 30 minutes, not 3 hours. I tried not to jump to conclusions. Our daughter, Sophie, was about to graduate from university with a business degree. For years at the University of North Carolina, a 3.8 GPA, working part-time jobs to support herself, she deserved a celebration free from her parents' issues. I didn't argue with Megan that day. I just nodded and walked outside to my truck. There, in the driveway, I opened my phone and started going through our financial accounts. Nothing screamed affair. The credit cards and banking activity looked normal, but Megan was smart. If she was hiding something, she would do it carefully. The graduation was 3 weeks away. Sophie had worked too hard to have her day overshadowed by tension. I drove to my office for a meeting with the Carsons, one of my long-term clients. We were discussing their retirement plans. Simple stuff, but watching how they looked at each other, after 35 years of marriage, made my stomach churn. They trusted each other completely. They were still partners. When had Megan and I lost that? That evening, I came home and found Megan upstairs, on the phone behind the bedroom door. She was laughing softly, her tone lighter than I'd heard in months. When she finally came downstairs, I asked her who she was talking to. "Just Sophie," she said with a smile, "going over graduation plans." But I knew Sophie was at work. I had brought her lunch to the cafe that afternoon. I didn't challenge it. I just kept observing. Megan and I had been married for 22 years. We met when I was 25, just starting out at a small financial firm downtown. She was 23, a bright and passionate elementary school teacher. We built everything together, ate ramen, skipped vacations, saved for a down payment. When Sophie was born, Megan took time off to stay home, and I worked longer hours, picked up more clients, did what I had to do. We were a team. Life was tough, but we were in it together. Those were good years. Hard, but good. The cracks started showing maybe 5 years ago. Megan returned to work part-time when Sophie started high school. She said she felt restless and wanted something for herself. I supported it. Then she joined the gym where Logan worked. She came home glowing, talking about new workouts, gym friends, Logan's advice about nutrition. At first, I was happy she had something she enjoyed. But then our dinner conversations changed less about our lives and more about Logan, his thoughts, his recommendations, his opinions. I should have seen the signs sooner. The long phone calls started, then 2 always in another room, often with the door closed. When I asked, she'd say it was her sister or a colleague from work, but I knew how she spoke to her sister. This was different. Things kept appearing: an expensive purse, fancy athletic wear, a spa certificate she claimed a friend had gifted her. Nothing huge, but collectively suspicious. Even Sophie noticed. One night she asked me if everything was okay between Megan and me. "Things feel different," she said. I gave her the standard line. Marriages go through phases. People change. It's normal. That night, I sat in my home office, staring at the last 2 decades of our financial records, and realized just how exposed we were. Everything was jointly owned: the house, the cars, our investment accounts, even business assets. We had always lived under the assumption that we were on the same team. Years ago, we had signed a postnuptial agreement, Megan's idea, actually just in case something went wrong with my business. It was supposed to protect our assets. I found the document buried in my filing cabinet. I read it again, every single word. There was a clause about infidelity, clear and enforceable. Then I started making phone calls. The confirmation came on a Tuesday morning while I was reviewing client portfolios. A text popped up on my phone from a number I didn't recognize. Attached was a photo: Megan and Logan sitting together at a hotel restaurant downtown. But it wasn't a casual dinner between friends. They weren't sitting across from each other. They were side by side. His hand was on her thigh. Her head was resting on his shoulder. The caption read, "Thought you should know. Hotel security has more if you need it." I stared at the image for a long time. My stomach didn't drop. I didn't get angry. Instead, I felt an odd sense of calm. It was like I had finally been handed the truth I had been suspecting for months. There was something freeing in that. I called the number immediately. "This is Kevin Walsh," the man said. "I work security at the Marriott downtown. Your wife's been a regular here for about 4 months. Always the same guy, same room." I asked him why he was telling me this. "My brother went through the same thing," he said. "Wish someone had told him sooner." I thanked him and hung up. Still, I didn't lose control. I didn't storm out. I didn't shout. Instead, I drove home early that day and parked in the driveway, looking at our house, the same blue shutters, the garden Megan planted when Sophie was little. Everything looked normal from the outside, but inside, everything was different now. I made myself a sandwich, sat at the same kitchen table where we'd made countless family decisions, and stared at the graduation invitation still stuck to the fridge. "I want both my parents there front row," Sophie had said. "This is our moment." She had no idea what was unraveling behind the scenes. That evening, I pulled out the postnuptial agreement again and read it line by line. Then, I opened my laptop and began outlining a plan. I started making a list: asset protection strategies, trust formations, legal documentation. If Megan was going to betray me, I wasn't going to let her destroy everything we had built. Later that evening, Megan called to say she'd be late, having dinner with Janet. "Just talking graduation stuff," she said. "Sounds good," I replied calmly. After I hung up, I called my attorney, then my accountant, then a private investigator. Her name was Helen Torres. Her card had been sitting in my desk drawer for 3 years, just in case. I never imagined I'd actually use it, but now I needed the truth. With 17 days left before graduation, I decided to test the waters. One morning, over coffee, I casually said, "I've been thinking about seating arrangements for the ceremony. Maybe Logan should sit with his own family, not ours." Just to keep things simple. Megan's expression changed instantly. Her mug stopped halfway to her mouth. What's that supposed to mean? She asked. It's a family day, parents, grandparents. Logan doesn't really fit that category, I said. Her walls went up immediately. Logan has been incredibly supportive of our family, she snapped. He deserves to be there. I pushed a little. Supportive how? I knew I shouldn't have said it, but I wanted to see her reaction. She looked at me like I was being unreasonable. He's been there during a difficult time, she said. What difficult time? I asked, already knowing where this was headed. She waved vaguely between us. This us. The way things have been lately, and just like that, the script flipped. She was making it my fault. I was the problem. I hadn't noticed her struggles. I hadn't asked how she was doing. Logan listens, she said. He cares. He makes me feel seen. There it was her justification. The rewritten version of our life where she was the neglected wife and he was the hero. So he's coming to graduation? I asked. Yes, she replied. And if that bothers you, maybe you should ask yourself why. She grabbed her gym bag and stormed out. I'm going to work out. Don't wait up. Logan and I are getting dinner after. The door slammed behind her. I sat there for an hour in silence, staring at the cold coffee in my mug. Then I picked up the phone and called Kevin Walsh again. I need everything, I said. Hotel footage, guest records, credit card receipts, whatever you've got. He said it would take a few days to compile. Money is not an issue, I told him. I just need it done right. That same afternoon, I met with my attorney, James Monroe, a man I had worked with for years. He'd helped me incorporate my firm, set up our wills, and draft the postnuptial agreement. He looked over the document with a professional calm. This is airtight, he said. If you can prove infidelity, she forfeits any claim to your business assets, investment accounts, even spousal support. What about the house? I asked. Joint property, acquired before the agreement, he explained. She's entitled to half, but you could force a sale. And what if I move assets before filing? He leaned forward, choosing his words carefully. Depends how and when. Asset hiding is illegal. Asset protection is not. What's the difference? Asset protection uses legal structures, trusts, business entities, retirement funds established for legitimate purposes. As long as the intent is legal estate planning, tax efficiency, protecting your daughter's future, then it's solid. That conversation gave me clarity. If I acted quickly and precisely, I could make sure that when Megan made her grand move, there would be nothing left for her to grab. The next step was to call Sophie. We talked about her finals and graduation, and I asked her how she was feeling. Excited, nervous. It feels like everything's about to start, she said. Are you and Mom okay? She added cautiously, you've both been kind of weird lately. We're fine, I lied gently. This is your moment. Nothing is going to take that from you. The next day, Kevin delivered the first batch of documentation. Hotel records going back 6 months, room charges, security footage. The images made it clear Logan and Megan weren't just meeting occasionally. This was scheduled, repeated, calculated, twice a week, sometimes 3. Always careful, always the same room. But what broke me was what I found later that night, hidden. In Megan's jewelry box, beneath a pair of earrings she never wore, was a folder. Inside were printed real estate listings, condos in Charleston, apartments in Asheville, all circled in red, and a handwritten note in her familiar script, need to establish residency by June. Divorce filing She wasn't just cheating, she was planning her exit. This wasn't impulsive, it was strategy. She intended to blindside me at graduation, play the victim, and walk away with half of everything. But she hadn't counted on me playing my own game. That night, I sat at the edge of our bed, holding the papers Megan had hidden, her escape plan laid out in black and white. It wasn't just an affair, it was a full-scale life reset, and I was merely the obstacle she had to quietly push aside. The gym, the clothes, the sudden glow in her demeanor all made sense now. Logan wasn't just a fling, he was her safety net, her soft landing, her backup future, and the graduation. That was her stage. My phone rang around 8 p.m. Megan. I'll be late again. Logan's helping me plan something special for Sophie's graduation, she said cheerfully. What kind of special? I asked, barely masking the disgust in my voice. A surprise, you'll see. I could practically hear the smug smile. On the other end, I bet I will, I said, and hung up. That night, I called my accountant, Robert. I want to set up a trust, I said, educational, for Sophie. I want to transfer some assets, part of the investment portfolio, the business. Interests a couple properties. That's a significant move, Robert said cautiously. Any particular reason for the timing? Estate planning, I replied. Sophie's entering adulthood. I want her future protected. It wasn't a lie. It just wasn't the whole truth. We met the next morning. Robert had the paperwork ready, an irrevocable educational trust with Sophie as the sole beneficiary. I would remain trustee until she turned 30, but the assets would legally belong to her. That made them untouchable. This protects the funds from creditors, lawsuits, and divorces, Robert explained. Once it's in the trust, it's no longer part of your personal estate. And the house? I asked. You can transfer your half into the trust, he replied. That leaves Megan with her 50%, but she won't be able to force a sale without Sophie's consent as beneficiary. I signed the papers that afternoon, transferred 60% of our investment portfolio, my half of the house, and both of our rental properties into the trust. On paper, I had just gifted Sophie over $3 million. In reality, I had ensured Megan would walk away with nothing. That evening, Megan came home buzzing. The graduation surprise is coming together so perfectly, she said. Logan's been incredible. I'm sure he has, I replied, keeping my tone even. She glanced at me with curiosity. You seem different lately, more relaxed. Just looking forward to Sophie's big day, I said. It's going to be perfect. A new beginning for everyone. She smiled, completely unaware how accurate that was. The final week before graduation, I made the last few moves. On Monday, I called Kevin Walsh one more time. I'll need a witness statement, I said, in case this goes to court. Already prepared, he replied. Dates, times, room numbers. I've worked hotel security for over a decade. Know what lawyers look for. On Tuesday, I met with the private investigator, Helen Torres. I need everything, I told her. Public appearances, photos, credit card receipts, witness statements. Go back 6 months. She handed me a preliminary report that afternoon. 23 documented public outings, dinners, coffee shops. A weekend trip to the mountains that Megan claimed she'd taken with her sister who, it turned out, lives in Florida. On Wednesday, I had lunch with Sophie. She was bubbling with excitement and stress, her final exams wrapping up. I tried to act normal, nervous about graduation, I asked, excited, sad. This part of my life is ending, you know. I know exactly what you mean, I said, swallowing my emotions. Are you and Mum going to be okay afterward? She asked. You both seem kind of ... distant lately. We're fine, I lied gently. This is your moment. Nothing is going to take that from you. Will you be okay ... if things change? I smiled softly and took her hand. I'll be fine, sweetheart. You don't need to worry about me. On Thursday, Helen delivered the final report. Every piece of evidence, organized and labeled photos, receipts, witness testimony, hotel records, and surveillance footage. I placed it all into a manila envelope and sealed it. On Friday morning, Megan was glowing. Tomorrow's the big day. She sang, I can't wait for you to see the surprise. Should I be worried? I asked. She laughed and actually kissed my cheek for the first time in months. You might be shocked, but I think you'll be relieved. She grabbed her purse and announced, Logan's picking me up. We're finalizing the plans. As soon as the door shut, I walked through the house. Every room held a piece of our life baby photos, vacations, birthdays, quiet Sunday mornings. I didn't feel anger, I felt closure. This life was over. It just hadn't been declared yet. I called James, my attorney. Everything's in place, I asked. Yes, the trust is secure. The documentation is thorough. If Megan files for divorce, there won't be much left to divide. And if she contests, let her try, James said. The postnup is solid. She signed it voluntarily, and your asset transfers were legitimate. There's no legal way to reverse it. I hung up, sat back in my office chair, and looked at the manila envelope one more time. Tomorrow, at Sophie's graduation, everything would change. I was ready. The graduation day arrived like a dream wrapped in sunshine and possibility. Sophie walked across the stage with grace and pride, her cap tilted just right, her eyes beaming with the future ahead. She'd earned this moment with sleepless nights, part-time jobs, and relentless dedication. For just a few hours, Megan and I sat beside each other in the front row to proud parents, unified in appearance, if not in heart. Logan sat 3 seats away, close enough to be noticed, distant enough to keep up the illusion. Sophie didn't seem to notice him. She was glowing, and nothing could dim that light today. After the ceremony, the extended family gathered on the campus lawn for photos. Grandparents, cousins, uncles, everyone wanted a picture with Sophie. In her gown and diploma, she laughed, hugged, posed. It was perfect, until Megan stepped forward. Before we all head to dinner, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear, I have something to share. Conversations stopped. Sophie turned toward her, smiling, probably expecting another proud parent speech. Megan took a deep breath, looked straight at me, and announced, Daniel, I'm done pretending. I'm done living a lie. I've found someone who makes me happy. She turned to Logan, who stepped forward like he was taking a bow. I know this will be hard, but Logan and I are starting a new life together, she said. It's time to move on. Sophie's smile vanished. Mom, ... what are you doing? She asked, voice trembling. Megan didn't answer her. She looked only at me, expecting shock or rage, expecting me to shout, break down, or beg. But I just smiled. Thank you for finally being honest, I said calmly. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out the manila envelope. Since we're not pretending anymore, I have something for you too. She hesitated before taking it. Her confident posture faltered as she flipped through the contents. Hotel receipts, surveillance photos, credit card statements, witness testimonies, and finally the postnuptial agreement with the infidelity clause highlighted. Her face drained of color. "What is this?" she whispered. "Documentation," I replied. "Every move you've made for the last 6 months. And the last page. That one's important too." She turned to it slowly. The trust papers, asset transfers, the details of everything I'd protected legally and permanently. Her fingers trembled. "You can't do this," she muttered. "This isn't fair." "I already did," I said. "It's all in Sophie's name now. My shares of the business, the rental properties, my half of the house sits protected, legally, irrevocably." Logan, stunned, stepped forward. "What does this mean?" "It means," I said, locking eyes with him for the first time that day, "the woman you left everything for just lost access to over $3 million. You're starting a new life, from scratch." The silence was heavy. Megan's mother gasped. Sophie's jaw dropped. No one said a word for several seconds. Megan looked at me, tears forming now. "You blindsided me," she said. I shrugged. "No, you planned your moment. I just planned mine better." The family quietly moved on to dinner, leaving Megan and Logan behind. Sophie rode with me. She didn't speak until we were halfway to the restaurant. "Dad. What just happened?" I exhaled. The truth came out, that's all. Over the next 2 weeks, Megan met with 3 different lawyers. They all gave her the same news. The trust was airtight. The postnup was valid, and she had no legal claim to the transferred assets. She was left with the house well, half of it her car and her pension. Logan, he vanished 2 days later, blocked her number, moved out of his apartment, quit the gym. The fantasy crumbled fast. Sophie and I had dinner a month later at her favorite Italian restaurant. "Are you angry at Mum?" she asked. I shook my head. "No. I'm disappointed, but not angry." "Are you angry at yourself?" I paused. "Maybe. For not seeing it sooner. For letting it go so long." "Do you think you'll date again?" she asked, gently. "Someday. When I'm ready." She reached across the table, just like she had before, and held my hand. "I'm proud of you, Dad, for not making a scene, for putting me first. You handled everything with so much grace. That meant more to me than anything." 6 months later, I moved into a smaller home across town, cozy, quiet. I kept my practice, my routine, my peace. Megan eventually moved to Charleston with a new personal trainer she met at a yoga class. She and I spoke only about Sophie now, and even that was rare. Sophie began graduate school in the fall. The trust covered her tuition, housing, everything. It would support her long after I was gone. That made everything I'd done worth it. Sometimes I drive past the old house. The new owners painted it yellow and installed a swimming pool. Looks. Happy. I don't miss the lies. I don't miss the pretending. I don't even miss Megan. I miss the family we once were before secrets, before silence, before betrayal. But that family had ended long ago. Graduation just made it official. Some endings aren't tragedies. Sometimes they're just the truth finally catching up.